Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. This is Franz Sydney. Welcome to Create with Franz. What is Create with Franz? It's just a podcast that is been going on for about 4.5 years, helping you guys listening to us, to create the life that you want. Where? At home, at work, in church, in your club, at the gym, wherever you can create that life if you sit and put yourself in charge of your emotions and everything that is happening inside you. But sometimes we do not know what's really happening inside us. It's all hidden and covered up, and all the emotions are not there. And today we're going to explore this really deeply with our friend all the way from Texas, Mindy Honcoop. Welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to be here.
It is, and we had a long chat before this, so we're
We
very
did.
excited to finally go. This week is incredible because I interviewed lots of people talking about work, lots of half
Mm,
Italian and half Greek. And also you've been to Greece. So I just love
yeah.
talking about this topic. Yasu, all the Elines. So
Yasu.
Yasu to all and ciao ciao a tutti. So today we're going to talk about a lot of issues. Let's focus on HR people. So they're in charge of the resources of a company, and these are human resources. These are
Mm.
people. They have emotions, and sometimes it's a little bit difficult to say what's actually going on and what is this person is telling me. How do we deal with all these people? And we've been talking in the previous episode with the queen of belonging. She done all the research, but now we're gonna focus instead of belonging on a burnout that happens when we're not having this communication and when HR people are ticket takers. In fact, I will allow Mindy to introduce the issue because she's so deeply inside it because she knows it all. And I was like, you know what? You tell us what is the issue here that happens in a large
Mm.
company.
Oh, thank you so much, Franz. And I was in that. I was a chief people officer in house and I lived it personally. And what's going on is, often we're at the heart of the organization. And really, as human resource professionals, chief people officers, we're really thinking about the culture and the revenue conversation and the strategy. And what are those human impacting elements? And how are we aligning our humans to be able to deliver great business outcomes? But we as humans are messy, and it's alone hard to be like self-disciplined and have self-control. And when you put us all together, and then you put us into COVID, and you put us into all the things that are happening, and just the speed of change in the world and with technology, it's a very uncertain time. And we aren't good normally with change as humans. And also the HR function, while we have come far, we still often as HR professionals, unfortunately seen as a profession and function as what you mentioned, ticket takers or administrators or policemen or compliance and
Mm.
mitigating risk. And and often we're not have the opportunity to kind of use our voice, whether we even know what our voice is, and connected with ourselves to speak into that and take up space, because we're often taking care of so many other people and everything else that's going on. And because we're set up from a reactive space, often we're cleaning a lot of things up. And so I get the opportunity, from my experience having been burned out, and my experience in the process of healing and finding my voice and my purpose and my values, I get to come alongside now other HR leaders, often first time chief people officers, to really help them to kind of be able to take a step back. And the work of well being in our workplaces really starts with us, and that self-awareness, and being able to dig in deep and understand what's going on for us, because we are often reacting emotionally to the things happening in the workplace that we're having to deal with and help others through. And if we're not understanding how that's showing up in us and how it may be even fogging our reflections or our perception of what's going on, that can also get in the way and really minimize our ability to impact and drive change and strategy. And so burnout so often happens from that lack of self-awareness because we didn't take the time to take care of ourselves and remain connected and understand what are the triggers and like how is our body responding in this moment. And so it really is, I mean, there's so many layers of complexity to that question of what's going on. I think I've just scratched at a generalized surface.
Yeah, we can use 3 or 4 hours and we record for
We
a whole
could, we
month.
could.
And here's the thing, I'm not the expert, but you've been 24 years as a
Yeah,
people leader and advisor. You've been working as a facilitator. You are a speaker. You are a
yeah.
speaker. And you do address this burnout of the leaders. And obviously, how does that impact everything? Obviously, if you can't even see the elephant in the room because your own mental health is suffering, that is going to be hard. And so there must be ways of going out. And we are approaching lots of aspect of this multifaceted aspect of working for a large corporation, being with lots of colleagues, and somebody has to manage everyone. And there's always
Mhm.
somebody. And also, I hear from my friends who work for such companies, oh, that guy does all the work and he's helping everyone else, but he's always behind and he's staying there
Mhm.
often. And this other guy, he does nothing the whole day. So he's having a break. And so there are also internal tension that might make somebody very upset and frustrated and not belonging as well because they think, who cares? And that connects back to the episode that I just recorded yesterday. I was talking
Mm.
to, what's her name yesterday? Elizabeth. Yeah, no, it's not Elizabeth. Somebody. Oh my gosh, I got so many people. I got like 50 people. Just incredible. But
Mm.
all these aspects that happen in work make people really stress. So then they go home and they had to self-medicate or being angry because nothing is coming out. And this happens a lot to men because men are not taught to express their emotions. They are
Yeah.
taught if they are sensitive, then they must be women. No, they're not. It's just men with brain. They feel
Right.
this emotion.
Yes.
How do we teach people to cope with this emotional load of hearing problems the whole day, problems, and then they burn out? How do we
Oh,
help the HR?
how can we help the HR? And that's kind of why I started Agile in HR. A huge part of that was because of my own personal experience with burnout and the toxicity and how disconnected I was. And then, really, hit a rock bottom. And it was from that I really, and I come from a social work background too. And so I know kind of about, and I also come from a dance background. So I know about like body work and somatic experiencing. And as someone who already has knowledge in these things, yet I still was my own worst nightmare, right? I was helping others and I wasn't helping myself. And the work has to start with us. Like we first have to be connected and be whole and be able to be healed to then be able to help others. Often we hear about, put the air mask on yourself before you can help everyone else. But I do, as HR professionals, we often get so busy doing all the things that we are not taking care of ourselves. And when I start to work, and I do a lot of work mentoring, advising, and coaching HR professionals and leaders, and often the first conversations in what is the most difficult is, it's easy for them to go and drive and do the business things. But what is the hardest is understanding how to take a step back and to pause and to do the challenging work of reconnecting with themselves, of taking the time, asking permission, and setting the guardrails within the work and creating time and boundaries for themselves and understanding what do they need in order to ask for help, because often they're so disconnected they don't even know what they themselves need. And so a lot of it is a beginning of our work is a lot of self-reflection. And yes, we are working on the business items, but in conjunction with that and woven in is self-work and what emotions are coming up for them and why is that, and being able to even help them when employees are coming to them to help that employee pause and to come with them and really help understand, is this actually a fact and a data point, or is this just a presenting emotion? And really kind of like, I hear you saying this, and it's causing in my body to come up with anxiety. And that's okay. I'm going to be okay. But it's also learning the tools and resources. Like, I'm going to be okay. Like, I need to breathe with this person in this moment, and in order to be present with them and to hear and to understand and have the awareness of this individual is having an emotional response. So how can I walk alongside of them, ask them some clarifying questions to help them get to, what happened to bring you to this moment where you're coming and calling me, or you're in my office with me, and what were the actual things that occurred? What is the actual fact? And being able to help, because often I think the HR leaders that I work with are so overwhelmed. They're reacting and responding to the emotion, and it's almost as a fact, but it's actually emotion. But if we aren't taking the time to really ask deeper questions, to peel back the layers of the onion, to get to that root cause analysis, we're just seeing symptoms and emotions, and we're not actually then taking the time to understand the problem. And when we don't do that, we're not actually solving problems, we're just solving symptoms. And
Hmm.
so then it just continues and it's a cycle. And we wonder why we're having the same conversations, and it can get really frustrating. And so these are some of the tools and techniques that I often start out with working with the individuals that I work with. And it's surprising how often it comes back to them, and where they are at, and where are they frustrated, and where are they not using their voice, or have they not, or do they don't know their own voice, um, to be able to take up space. Because and it's so about the people pleasing that they aren't like speaking into, and they're not like asking the right questions, they're not standing firm where they should be.
People pleasing. You know how many podcasts I had when the people pleasing was there? They can't say no. They can't say no at home,
Exactly,
to the
friends.
family, or at work, and then they end up
Oh,
working like crazy.
yes.
Ah, why do we attach our worth to just pleasing everyone? I mean, it's nice to be
Yeah.
helping people, and it's an amazing thing, but there has to be, we have 24 hours in a day.
Mm,
We should be able to do the basics, to work, to rest, and to rejuvenate, to refresh. The
right.
mind needs to be still at some point. And yet, a lot of people are not taking that time. There is a
No.
human cost for that. And so that is,
Yes.
it's a big
And
thing. Do you train HR people then to know how to interview in a productive way so they're getting to the core? Is that what you
hmm
do? You actually
yes,
train
like, there's different like techniques that you can do that, even as simple as if you can ask why 5 times, right, to get to that root cause. But it's also not just doing that with the employees, but doing that with yourself. Right. Asking yourself why 5 times. Why aren't you standing up for yourself? Often this is like first time leaders, right?
them?
And and they see success as people pleasing and being responsive. Maybe that worked up to a certain point, but now as leaders, they're being, looked at to be strategic. And responsiveness is not a success measure for strategy. Strategy takes time, it takes space, and it's a different skill set. And often it's even for them to be able to see how are they defining success for themselves. And if it's responsiveness and people pleasing, no wonder why they're frustrated. They can't be strategic if you're sitting in that. And so yeah, a lot of the work that we're doing is like tools and frameworks to be able to, root cause analysis, be able to know when to set boundaries. Would you just go to a founder at any time of any day and just ring them up? No. And so they shouldn't expect that of you. But if you've been operating in that way and have never told them otherwise, then you've set a precedent of that's how people work with you. And so I often say, like, before we enter into this work, there's going to be a need of a change of behavior. And we're going to discover what that is, but you're going to try on new habits, new ways of working. And we also need to let the others around us know that we're going to start showing up differently. And we're going to need to let them know like what that is, because we need their buy-in and their confirmation that we're going to start taking up space and we're going to start putting boundaries down, and they need to buy into that. So that is definitely a lot of the work that I do, Franz.
Right. That is taking this space is very important because I think now, I think the reality is we have mobile phone, cell
Yeah.
phones in the States, right? That are constantly coming out with all sorts of stuff. And then some people I know from a Gen Z generation articles that a lot of young people go to work and are literally scrolling on Facebook and Instagram and Snapchat the whole time instead of working.
Yes.
And so, how can the mind possibly focus on all this? Add to this the fact that you will have demands all the time. I used to do 15 years ago some data input in a company. So you put in, they have huge databases and you have all the orders and tool banks sort of thing.
Mm,
You have a drill for Mr. Joe Block and this one. And you are typing very quickly all these orders. And if you got interrupted continuously, you just couldn't function. So you had to like, not now. And but now that social media has taken over and we have AI as well, we have games, we have so much distraction. Do we
mm,
need to interrupt people all the time? And so there are these boundaries that some people have to implement and say, right, now when I'm working, unless there is an explosion, don't come to this room.
that's right. Yeah. And to
It is
hold that
stressful.
time.
And I
Yeah.
think the brain, that is from a neuroscience point of view, the brain cannot focus on 100 things at the same time, just can't do. And it becomes frazzles. And then it becomes unable to hold the attention and the focus and the space on one thing
Yeah.
because all the information that we have flooded into his brain is now dancing around waiting to be processed. And so
Hmm.
it's distracting. So we're not really very productive if we keep bouncing from I'm going to text back my mom or now I'm going to talk to my husband. Oh, yeah, my daughter wanted that. Oh, yeah, the office number two wanted this. How is that possible?
Yeah.
I would really say to people, you're going to the office, turn off your social media, turn off your
Yes.
email, unless that is your job to answer emails, like maybe you're a secretary or a PR. But there has to be a way that people have to say, right,
Mm.
that's enough. I have to be able to do my work.
Exactly, Franz, and understand their capacity and how much they can get done within a certain period of time, and start to, often we're using communication channels in work. And I'm looking at this screen over here because this is like command center with my Slack and Microsoft Teams. And if I don't put it
Mhm.
on do not disturb, I try not even have notifications. Otherwise, you have all the flashing things coming up. And I do, for me at least, everyone's different. For me, I like to block time on my calendar and really hold it sacred to those certain things. Like, so I'm not tempted to just have that immediate gratification, because we love immediate gratification of a finished email. But then this frustration of, but there's just another email, right? It's like, and so
Yeah.
blocking time to only look at the email these certain times of the day, or the Slack messages at these certain times, and trying to chunk in based on the projects that I'm doing to have the
Yeah.
focus time to do that.
And some of the apps that people use who are self-employed, they might be on Zazzle, they might be on Etsy, they might be here on Quoted, which we use
Yeah.
to find all the media and the experts. And some of the chats will reward people who reply very quickly. And
Yes.
this puts
Yeah.
a lot of pressure on people to respond. If you're a business, if you're doing podcasts as a living, or you are a speaker, and you constantly have to reply immediately because otherwise you lose ratings, that is an added pressure that I think is totally
Wow.
unnecessary. How do you expect everyone to be constantly over email? Either they're doing their job or they're answering these emails.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it's very difficult. So,
Yeah.
what else can we say now? If I am working today in a human resources position and I think I need help,
Hmm.
what would be my first step? As of course, this is a podcast I want to give actionable tips to people so they can
Exactly.
turn off and say, yes, I know what to do.
I mean, the first thing is to, if you are, the first thing I think is for people to take the time for a moment to understand where are they getting frustrated. And to even just in a week, just start journaling. Like, when are you feeling like your body is speaking to you? And I just like that it is sending so many signals that if we ignore, it becomes greater problems that are going to catch up with us at some point. And I think there's such a wealth of information. And so it's even just like, okay, in what meetings am I? It also is just when we procrastinate are things that are often from like a past something bad had happened. And so it's good to start to become aware of where am I procrastinating? Why might that be? Where am I getting frustrated? Where are my tensions? Because that can start to create some common themes and some areas that are some big blockers. And then we can start to think in a manageable way. What is just one thing? I always think, what is one thing I can try differently? Like, maybe it's I need to do more root cause analysis. Maybe I'm responding. I'm in a response mode. I'm responding too fast. So I'm actually going to try out pausing. And what does that look like? I could try pausing in a lot of ways. I could not, wait till the next day to send the emails. You could draft them up and then come back the next day before hitting send. I could, in the next time an employee comes to me, I want to make sure that I'm really asking them why. Or if when is a lot of times I even ask the HR people I'm mentoring, well, do you take time to ask when someone comes to you with a request? Do you ask them what the deadline is? Like, when do they really need it? When are they expected? Like, if it's something that they're looking for you to complete something, what's the true deadline? They're just assuming often that the person needs it right away.
Yeah,
And
so true.
yeah,
You know what you remind me? I'm sorry to interrupt you, but this is just because
no,
I was reading in one of the other school or somebody. These guys were in big corporation, were working, and they all got summoned to this very important urgent meeting for the day after with one of their colleagues. They
Mhm.
canceled lots of appointments. They went to the meeting, and everything that had been said they already knew, and it was already in the newsletter of the company. They canceled a lot of stuff of this,
Yes.
and I'm like, what is urgent to you here?
Yes, exactly. Front. That's like some of the first things also that I do. Like, I start to, to take back, I call it take back your time is, when you get a meeting request, don't just automatically accept it. Like, understand, what is this meeting about? What is my role in this meeting? If it's not clear to you, it's okay to follow up and ask. And then be able to understand, like, do you really need to be there? Because you may not.
Yeah.
And
And
so it's
what's the
just,
aim? What's the aim of the
yes,
meeting? What are you trying to get out of this meeting?
exactly. What's the outcome?
Yeah, what's
Yes.
the outcome?
Yeah. And so by just taking the time, because these are all when I say just kind of pause and take a little time before just rushing in to do something, but just taking a few minutes, this can like alter, it could give you back so much more time. My very early on in my career, one of the best mentors I had, she always said, slow down to go faster and find the ways in which to slow down. Like, some of these little easy tips that people could start doing. The thing is people try to do all the things. Like, we've talked about a lot of practical things in just this 25 minutes. I often feel like people will try all the things and then they're like, oh, that didn't work. Well, because you tried too many. Just try one. Just try one.
It's a big thing. And I'm
Yeah.
interviewing a very, very famous coach very soon, Sue Bolton from England, and she wrote
Mm.
this book. I'm halfway through it, the book I put it here. Screw Meditation. It's about those who can never switch off. They can never
Yeah.
switch off. And they are there, people pleasing, running about, no boundaries.
Yes.
I think we're going to the same thing all the time. We're running, stress,
Yes.
stress, stress. But they're really
Yeah.
not productive because they don't know how to be present and focused. And
Yeah.
another guy I interviewed, which is soon out, it's called Jones Laughlin. He wrote a book called Busy as a Bee, and when busy is erased, and he said focused as a bee, and learned
Mm.
how, with his daughter, they were observing their beekeepers and said, how are the bees are very
Yes.
busy. They go to the flower and they don't care about anything else. They're getting the nectar of that flower. They don't
Yeah.
care if you're there. They're just gonna do it. And they're very, very conscientious how to do it. And I think we're losing that in some of the companies. We are not present. I know
Or
people
not
who are
present.
doing customer service, they're on the phone and they're doing something else at the same time.
Yes. Yeah. And Franz, I mean, this is like we've been talking so much about self work, right? But by doing the self work and then by being able to take up space and be able to say no or later or set a new deadline because you're now like not just taking care of everyone else, you're also taking care of you. You also, because you, it makes you more present and it makes you be there with the person, but it helps them to be observant. And we were talking in the earlier before the call, which I love, just about how people, even when you're not there with them in the office, there's so much you can see and what's how someone's moving on the camera, how they're holding themselves. Are they like looking around? Are they not speaking in the same tone that they usually do? Are they less expressive? And as HR leaders, being able to be observant and be able to see that when others can't, you can become such a powerful facilitator in a conversation and be able to ask what other people aren't seeing. And that one question can unlock an incredible, much needed conversation, often about an elephant in the room, by just seeing how are people
Mm.
showing up in the meeting and holding themselves just through that movement.
Yeah, because also we don't know what these people are humans. So they go
Yes.
at home, they have a family. They might have a child that is chronically ill or is bullied at school. They might have their own things. And then
Mm-hmm.
when we go to school to work, they might have all this luggage there. Emotionally speaking,
Yeah.
it's normal to have it. You worry about things. They might be pregnant. They didn't want to be pregnant. It could be anything. They
Yeah.
might have a faith crisis. So they're a little bit lost, a little bit in a bad mood, and then people think, oh, that person is being so rude to me. Well, maybe they're in a big crisis.
Yes.
They need to
Yes.
get that out of the chest before they can be present. And I
Yeah.
think being present has been very helpful to me recently because I had a huge move from the United Kingdom to the US, and I
Mm.
had a lot of stuff to do. The visa, the packing, the selling, it was massive. And then even now, it takes months to get a routine, to get your space, what you want to do. Sometimes my daughter will come and say, oh, can we do this? Can we do that? Can you help me with this? Can you help me that? And if I'm in the middle of something, it's very easy for me to drop it and say, oh, yeah, yeah, let's do it. Daughter first. Then I'm
Mm.
like, excuse me, I just have to be present and focus on one thing. First, I have to do this thing. When I'm done with this, then I'm gonna be able to. And sometimes it will be an hour before I finish. But if I haven't finished, then I have two half done jobs. I just feel like I'm not quite.
Exactly.
I'm just fragmented and not happy with myself. But I really
Yeah.
like when I have a list of things to do, like in my little calendar, I have
Yeah.
digital and paper because I love a paper feeling.
I do too.
I just love it.
I
I just
have
love
all
to
my
delete
paper.
stuff. And
Yeah.
that's the optional stuff. Please don't use
Yeah.
the Zoom
I love
to Zoom
that.
in.
That's another great tip.
And so I look and I get my little pen and I'm
Yeah.
like, I have done this job now. I
Yeah.
just, this sense of satisfaction, I've done it. I don't have to worry about it. But if it's half done, you cannot do that.
Mm-mm.
Isn't that amazing? It's
Mm-hmm.
just a different thing, like the shopping list. I want it there. I want to see it. I want a printed, written something so I can tick off.
Yeah.
I've done that. I can go to the next style, and now I'm done. I love this sense of accomplishment. It gives me to have
Mm.
done one job normally. And yeah, I think with the pressure in big companies that I would think I wouldn't thrive at all because from what I hear, it can be quite.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's truly where, and it's hard because sometimes the mindset in organizations as HR is just tasks and activities, but it's so, it really, what we're dealing with humans and all the things that we've talked about, the emotions and everything. And um, it takes, it's not just tasks and activities. And we really need to shift that conversation to the strategic revenue conversation, that culture and revenue together to be able to truly, give the weight of the importance of the humans in our organization. And when we do take the time to think about, we're all going through change. And this is just one example, but if we're truly strategically thinking about how are we moving humans through change and not just process and technology, but how are we supporting the humans through this? It just unlocks such greater productivity on the other side because you actually took the time to thoughtfully plan, which gives you more time at the end of the change.
Yes. You know, you're making me think, and you guys, if you have any questions, you're going to have to go to mindyhoncoop.com for
Yeah.
more. But what I'm really thinking about is now with the advent of AI coming into every washing machine, every car, it's
Yeah.
coming to you're gonna go to the bathroom, it's gonna tell you, oh, the water is so hot. Do you find this pleasant? Yeah, I'm very happy to help you to have it a little bit cooler. I mean, what's gonna happen with this AI? And it's gonna destroy a lot of the jobs. So I
Mm,
think those people, those humans who are not able to read inside their own core and understand somatically what's happening, how the gut feeling is,
mm,
why they're feeling that way, how how can we as humans, especially Gen Z, navigate this world that is changing very, very fast and that is going to be a little bit out of control because the very creators of AI, they don't really know what's going to happen because now
no.
AI is stealing from the other AI model. So all your jobs are going to be like hanging by a thread because it can do lots of stuff that was done by a person. So it's going to be
Yeah.
fear, there's going to be uncertainty, there's going to be lack of motivation, and people saying, well, I don't want to go ahead and study or train because AI is going to do everything. So if we're not able to talk to our HR and talk to ourselves, be present and really understand what we love doing, why we love doing it, why we are there at work to begin with, and what we need to move forward, we might end up being depressed and full of solitude and resentment. Instead of
Right.
embracing the new era, we might be very much negative about it because we can't talk about it without
That's
feeling
right.
just lots of
Yeah.
emotions but not really a substance that will help us.
Exactly. And, Franz, exactly what you're saying. All those emotions, the fear, the uncertainty, the shutting down, that's
Mm,
all the scarcity mindset, right? And like the survival mode. And we can't do a lot. Like it really limits our ability even to get access to our prefrontal cortex. And so,
of course.
like trying to remain in that abundance mindset and but to do that, we have to talk about our emotions. We have to be there has to be a level of trust in an organization. We have to have meaningful relationship to be able to process those things together in a healthy way. But when we do that, that's when the collaboration, the innovation, the ideation, and the companies that are successful in creating that environment, which I truly think they're going to be thinking about people strategically as they're thinking about revenue and profitability, they're the ones that are going to succeed. They're the ones that are not going to become obsolete.
Yes, that's a very, very nice closing point. We're not going to be obsolete. That's
Yeah.
very important.
Yes.
Yeah, be present. Look inside yourself, find out the root cause of all these issues going on. And if you can't, that's the time to go to your counselor, to your HR person, to a coach,
Yes.
to somebody who can be outside of your bag of emotions, which we all have,
Mm.
and then seek clarity instead of confusion and trying to come out.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's a great message, Mindy Honcoop.
Oh,
Thank you
thanks
so
so
much
much
for
for
being
having
with
me,
us.
Franz.
Such a good time. I could talk to you for 3 hours, but of course,
I
we only
could
have
too.
35 minutes. But you're going to be all over LinkedIn. You're going to get connections in there because I know you are
Mm.
useful because you have this knowledge of all the mechanisms. And I hope you guys listening to this have found these episodes really, really useful. Maybe it's a time to analyze where you are now in your path and where you want to be next. And how you're going to do that? Well, that's how a coach will help you. So if you need a coach, you know where to go.
Mm.
NLP, hypnosis, and also if at work you have HR people and they don't know about all this stuff that we discussed, that's the time to give them the links for my podcast and share it with your friends and see. We're gonna be about mid-April with this episode, so it's a long while. But when you see this, think about it. How do you want your life to be? And
Mm.
it's a big, big thing. So thank you so much for being with us. Thank you, Mindy. I'll
Oh,
see you all next week. Say bye bye. Bye bye.
bye.
Bye bye. Hello, everyone. I've just been recording today another episode going through mid April with Mindy Honcoop all the way from Texas. So say hello to Mindy.
Hey. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, so Mindy is an accomplished HR executive and facilitator, speaker with a 24 years plus of a very fruitful career as a people leader and advisor after being also a social worker and having knowledge of dance and neuroscience and all this stuff that is like, whoa. So she's way ahead of me, let's say. She knows all about human resources and the problems that they have. And today we talked about what? You tell me.
We talked about our HR leaders today and really how to really, if you're in burnout, how to step outside of that with some really practical tips. And if you're not burned out, how to avoid that.
There we go. So all the tips will be soon. So watch your calendar and make sure that in April you're all watching this on YouTube or listening on iTunes and maybe put a review for us. That
Yeah.
helps my show to go very well and to be known by more people. I put a review for the show, put a review for Mindy Honcoop, whatever. Contact her, mindyhoncoop.com for any help. So see you all next week. Bye bye.
Bye.